If you're looking for a new invoice financing solution for your recruitment business, I highly recommend Zodec. Zodec have a relationship-based, courteous approach and a professional approach to working with their clients. So whether you're a startup or an established business, they offer you a range of financial and back office support solutions that will suit your business and are specific to your requirements and your goals. Whether you're in the tech sector, education, recruitment, manufacturing, engineering, whatever sector you're in, they look after the majority of them. So get in touch with Zodec at zodec.com or on the link below. Welcome back to another episode of RecTalk. I'm your host, Nitin Sharma, founder of rectools.io. If you don't know by now, RecTools is the largest online supply directory of recruitment supply chain to your recruitment business or your talent acquisition team. So if you're looking for a new invoice financing solution, perhaps you're looking to consolidate some existing business debt, perhaps you're looking to take on some sort of asset finance, head over to rectools.io and have a look at our RecTools recommended panel of brokers and lenders. Which brings me quite nicely over to my guest for today. You'll know him from Contact Business Finance. He is the owner, director. What do you go by?
I'd say CEO, but we're not that exact yet. Managing director.
Managing director of Contact Business Finance, Bobby Russell. Bobby, thank you for hosting me today in these. I'm going to call it what it is. It's a corridor.
Yeah, it's a corridor. It's nice. It's as nice as a corridor can get.
It is. It's good. It's good. No, it's nice. No, mate.
Just forgive me if I kick the table again.
No worries, mate. I'm going to keep hold of the coffee so you don't pour it over me. But mate, thank you first of all for giving us your time. Today's episode is really more of a kind of Q&A. Give you a chance to answer some of the questions that I get at least once a month from recruitment business owners about business finance. I think there's really not enough education on this sort of stuff, and there's not really a huge amount of content on it either, because let's be honest, it is a bit boring, you know. It's
not the sexiest of topics, but again, if it was easy to understand, people like myself would be out of a job.
That's right.
So yeah, it sometimes helps us
so I've actually come prepared today rather than the unscripted. I've got 5 questions here that you have had a glance over already, so we'll jump straight into those, and we'll see where the conversation leads us. Yeah,
sounds good, mate. Thanks for having me. Third time as well.
It is. Yeah. Getting a veteran on this now.
I thought I'd bore you the first 2 times, and you wouldn't have me again. But
I'm gonna have to charge you for the next one.
Let's do
it. Look, first of all, when you talk about kind of business finance, what different areas do you guys cover? Because I think invoice finance seems to be the one that gets banded around in the recruitment sector a lot, right?
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot more to it. So just give us a rundown of kind of where is your place in the market? What do you guys do?
Okay, so predominantly we are an invoice finance brokerage. So that's where I've learned my trade in the past as a lender. So we set up the business 5 years ago, and year 1, year 2 was purely focused just on invoice factoring and invoice discounting deals, not just with recruitment as well. So we've worked across multiple industries, helping any businesses we can in terms of cash flow. And nowadays, it's still predominantly invoice finance, but as we've grown the team, we've got people that now specialise in property, and we've got a young lady specialising in purely loans. Okay. So yeah, we can always do a little bit of asset finance and a few other things, but yeah, invoice finance is always going to be my bread and butter. I'm always going to be focused on anything cash flow related, helping obviously recruitment agencies. I think, again, in terms of recruitment, rule number 1 is to keep your temps paid on time. So although we do help fund perm-only agencies, the temporary recruitment market, it's definitely the most competitive in terms of the invoice finance industry, simply due to the fact that it's every invoice finance lender's dream, because the invoice that they're lending against is always raised off the back of a signed timesheet. So yeah, it's high growth sector, fast paced, and invoice finance lenders love it because typical recruitment company is one phone call away from going from there to there.
Yes, I think you can't run a temp agency without invoice financing, really, can you?
You've got to have exceptionally deep pockets to be able to afford to run a temp agency without invoice finance. I think the average debtor days in the recruitment market as of last year was 52, which basically means the average time it takes a typical agency to get paid by their clients. As of this year, it's 56. So it's a long time to wait for your cash. It's a long time to wait for invoices to be paid. And obviously, if you're running a weekly payroll, you've got to.
And that's the key, isn't it? It's that weekly kind of payment that needs to be made. 'Cause you can't have a temp that doesn't get paid, right? And that's the question. I'll be honest, it comes up a lot when I'm doing kind of the free mentorship and stuff that I do. A lot of the guys that I speak to are like formerly perm recruiters, and for them it's sort of like the concept of temp is so confusing.
Yeah.
Then they speak or start looking into invoice financing, and it's incredibly complex. There's so many different layers to it.
So they all want a temp desk. It's just the case that
Yeah. The one of the biggest barriers to starting up a temp desk is exactly that. Well, how do I fund this? Because they're used to working on the perm process and the 56 days that they have to wait. Okay, they can accept it. They through gritted teeth, but they do it.
Yeah, but like you say, it's an education piece, and I think again when we've had half an hour sit down earlier, we were talking about obviously new start agencies. Like a lot of these successful recruitment companies that we've helped in the past, they're always the good ones are always decent recruitment consultants.
Yeah.
But the exceptional ones are the recruitment consultants that are also they've got a bit of business acumen, but also great at the back office and.
And you know that's like. It's not really the fault of the recruiters either, right? If you think about it, because if you're a good recruiter, that's all you're doing.
You only know what you know.
That's it.
Yeah.
You don't get visibility on the back end of the business. You don't get visibility on how cash flow forecasting works and that kind of thing. So it's an incredible. I suppose that's where things like incubators exist, and those who do offer the back office support do really well.
Which again, the invoice finance sector, there's 107 debenture charge holders as of last week, but doesn't necessarily mean there's 107 lenders out there. But there is a lot of recruitment specific invoice finance that offer that back office solution.
And would you make introductions or broker deals for those people as well?
Yes, also, yeah. We'd like to class ourselves as a whole of market approach. So we don't just deal with the high street banks. We'll work with high street banks, merchant banks, building societies, independent lenders, and
I think that's key to understand, isn't it? Because then, in this incredibly complicated world, essentially what you're doing is going, look, tell us what you need, and we'll go out and find the best solution for what you need, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to kind of being like, go and do it yourself, because it's a minefield when you do start looking into these things.
It is, yeah. It's like it's not just an invoice finance brokerage or a commercial finance brokerage. It's the same with the insurance market, a mortgage broker. Their job is to go out and compare the market for their clients.
Yeah.
The reason why we've done pretty well over the last 5 years, let's say, is because I've learned the trade. I've dealt with, recruitment agency pains in the past in terms of keeping temp paid on time, and it's not just about price when it comes down to invoice finance, especially in recruitment, because like a typical example, if you haven't got a credit limit you need on one of your debtors,
it's absolutely right.
That debtor calls you the following week and needs an extra 10 guys, but you've only capped it at a certain limit. It's okay me going out to the market and getting you a good price, but if that lender can't give you the credit limit you need to supply that client...
The thing is, any good recruitment business owner would know that, right? Because it's the same as going, recruitment agencies are all the same, you all compete on price, because that's just not the case, right? There's agencies out there that charge 5%, 10% fixed fee recruitment, and you've got all, the other end of the spectrum, people that charge full fee, 25 to 30%, work on retained, work on kind of RPO models, And so, really, they would understand more than anybody that this isn't a race to the bottom in terms of margin. And sometimes what you pay for is what you get, right? And as with anything. So if you are dealing with, and I don't expect you to name or shame, right? But there are going to be lenders out there who, if their only kind of USP in the marketplace is their price, well, that usually comes packaged up with some issues, right?
There's a few lenders that their USP is price, and don't get me wrong. Sometimes I had I don't know if it was a lender or an introducer. I sat down with somebody the other day, and they kind of said, "I tell you what, it was a bank I sat down with, and it was."
Excuse me, I sound like Sean.
Was that poison coffee?
It is, yeah. It went down the wrong way. Apparently, I forgot how to drink.
It was actually a high street bank, and I won't name them. But it was the head of sales. I sat down with, met him for the first time, and he kind of asked me the question. So what's kind of the key criteria for you to pass a certain prospect or a certain deal to a certain lender? And it's case by case. So in terms of price, for example, if it's a price driven deal that there's no quirks, all the debtors are blue chip names, it's a widespread ledger, credit limits aren't an issue, they don't even need the service from the lender because credit control's all in house. For example, if it's an invoice discounting facility, it's completely confidential. Client looks after everything. that might be a price-driven deal that it's all about getting the best possible rate.
Yeah, no different to if a client says, "Oh, all we need to do is run an advert. The branding is strong enough and the business is strong enough, and our internal processes are strong enough. All we need is an influx of applications." So, yeah, in that scenario, you absolutely would go to a fixed fee recruiter who's got, the visibility in the market that you're looking for. Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense. Okay, fair.
But then there are other deals that will land on our desk that need a commercial approach from a lender, bit of flexibility.
Yeah.
Typical example is a new start recruitment agency that is seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got one right now that currently employed. It's going to be a bit of a director scenario where somebody's going to have to step in for the first year of the business. Not ideal. Banks straight away would turn that down, whereas there are lenders out there that will look at that with their commercial hat on, but also not charge a monthly minimum fee. X, Y, Z months.
This is the same with kind of business lending in general, though. I noticed in that if you're looking for a business loan, it's quite often not a simple, personal loans are based on your credit rating, right? So, whereas with a business loan, it's very much often a case of strength of the business plan, what you're planning on doing with this, how realistic is this, to result in you being able to afford to pay it off.
Affordability.
Right. And B, kind of succeed with your business plan.
So business loans, again, like I say, we also do. So one of our guys was out to see a decent agency yesterday in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
I've been after the Invoice finance facility for years. They're on a really good deal with a high street back, and this is a typical example of a price-driven deal because it's there's no flexibility or required. Hopefully, we'll win the Invoice finance facility at some point, but they're after a term loan just to refurbish their current office. They've already got a nice swanky office, but they kind of want to bring their recruitment consultants back into the office, and in order to get their recruitment consultants away from working from home to get them back in, that they need to make the office a bit more.
Yeah, see, I like that. Cool. I like that because we kind of touched on this off camera, right? It's you got businesses that do want to go back to that office-based operating model, which fine, whatever people's opinions on that are. You've got the choice of going carrot or stick, right? And unfortunately, a lot seem to be using the stick. You must be back in, and contracts are being redeployed, and pushing people back to review your contract. It says that we can do this. Whereas I like this concept of, well, okay, we want people back in the office. Let's make it enjoyable.
It's a stick because they want them back in, and they're saying you've got to come back in. But
they could do it anyway, though, right? They don't need to take out a term loan to refurb the office to make people feel more likely and excited about coming back to the office. They could just go, you got to come back. That's it, right? And that's the carrot piece of like, oh, we get it. Look, you guys like your flexibility. You like what you like. Let's see if we can create that working environment and that culture to bring you back into the office so that you're happy where you are. Yeah, interesting.
Even though there could be a quirky bar in the corner where they're all, right, as opposed to just having a lunch break, they could all be doing.
That's it.
Having a drink. Right. They might not want it to that extreme, but
that's an interesting one, right? Because again, we're in your office spaces and stuff like that, and you work a hybrid model, right? And what?
A little bit. I'd say hybrid model. Yes, however, I'd say most of our people want to be in the office, but I think that's more because of us being a small team and just what it's like. You like to vent out on some cases and speak to people, and it also helps that when we're in the office, we can all talk about cases and get the job done probably a little bit more efficiently. Yeah,
there's more synergies as well, I suppose, isn't there? Because you'll be working on something that maybe somebody else in the team will go, hang on a minute,
exactly.
I've got something that might be useful for them.
We're going to deal with that in the past. X, Y, Z, and
You mentioned something off camera which I thought was really interesting. Because I'm all about the referral networking and kind of using your community piece, right? Community is really, really key, I think, to building a successful business and retaining business in the long term, right? You mentioned something which I think is important to mention. Because of the services you offer aren't just restricted to recruitment agencies. You've had clients in the past who are recruitment consultants, and you've done, lending and finance agreements for them in some way, shape, or form. But actually, what you've then had is they've used your offering as a way to strengthen relationships and buy value with their client base by kind of going, actually, things like asset finance, things like, looking at invoice financing or factoring as a solution. I know a guy. Let me introduce you.
Well, recruiters are great salespeople generally. And if they know that we can also help some of their clients, like you've just said, with asset finance. So a typical driving agency, for example, could be supplying XYZ drivers to XYZ Transport Limited. He might need a few vehicles. Asset finance key to helping him purchase a few vehicles. Because we're a free of cost, compare the market type of service. You know, we can generally get people a better deal because we've got access to a wider range of lenders than what they would have on Google, for example. But it creates the agency, in this example, the driving agency, brownie points with their clients because we've saved their client XYZ money, so kind of owes him one.
No, that's it. I find that fascinating because again, it's almost like it's sort of the old school mentality would be, I mean, I wouldn't have ever dreamt of going to my boss and going, oh hey, yeah, I've just hooked up client ABC with an invoice financing broker. What are you doing? What are you wasting your time for, right? Whereas actually, you kind of plant these seeds and eventually they'll
long term it'll come back. Again, the reason why we don't just look at recruitment, so probably 2/3 of our book, we should say that, but is in the recruitment space because we've got obviously some great partnerships. However, it works the other way as well because we look at transport, engineering, construction, all these sectors that recruiters supply into. We're also keeping our ears to the ground for a labour shortage. So me and obviously you met Harney earlier, we went to see a fabricator yesterday, and they've got a powder coating machine sitting in their unit currently not being used because they need 2 people to operate it. So there's a shortage there, which we've passed. It's only 2 people required.
A couple of attempts, but the point is
still an opportunity
that could lead on to all
clients.
sorts of different stuff,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
And the fact that you're openly looking out for opportunities like that and it is front of mind enough for you to be like, oh, okay. Because again, it's easy to just, I should reach out to an agency or put an advert out on Indeed, you'll be fine. But the kind of going out of your way to be like, actually, I know somebody that might be useful for you.
Well, this is a fabricator, so they're just responsible for obviously welding, but the majority of their work is fences. So they're old school. It's run by welders. Hairy arse welders, basically. So they're expecting to stick a job in the Express and Star. That's me giving away the location of the business. And expecting people to come look at the job advert in a newspaper. They've never used an agency. And now I've got them to see certain gaps in their sort of cash flow model, why they're probably not performing to their full capability. It's a couple of people there. Their main creditor is actually a powder coating business. And they've got a machine there to do it themselves, but they're not doing it themselves because they haven't got the people. So just a couple of decent recruitment decisions. Their main creditor is no longer their main creditor. They don't need them anymore. So it's little things like that makes a difference in terms of the cash flow cycle.
Yeah, and I think that's possibly a unique approach to how you're approaching business, which is like, lean on us. We've got connections. We've got, we know people. Like, if there's anything we can do to help you, ask us.
We'll always,
right?
regardless, we'll always point people in the right direction. We've got a friend of mine going out to see an agency today. Bit of restructuring advice, overdrawn on his director's loan, and the business isn't quite performing to its full capability because he's taken on too much staff, basically. And I think he said paying them the wrong commission, even if the business isn't earning on a monthly basis. And it's little things like that this is now a client for life because
you did something for him that you didn't have to do during a time where he really needed somebody to be there.
Specialists. We're not insolvency or an accountant, but we passed him over to somebody that he didn't think was available to give him some advice. That's it. And he's now going to bed at night.
But this is that point, right, of giving value away, not with the intention to make a transaction there and then, but actually to kind of give that bit of value, right, and let them kind of mull it, think about it, take it away and benefit from it, because eventually that will then come back. And it does. More often than not, that then comes back. And like you said, you've then got a firm customer for life, right?
Again, the name of the business is Contact Business Finance, and our sort of like, what do they call it now, like a strap line? Putting businesses in contact with the most suitable lenders. But Contact is about having contacts and just placing your clients with the right people, whether it be
connecting people in the right place.
Finance, loans, accountants, recruiters, just looking out for opportunities for our network.
No, that's fair. That makes sense. So the last time you were on the podcast, you hit us with some pretty cool facts and figures, to the point where that resonated with not only my team, but a lot of people still throw them back. So I'm going to put you on the, I'm going to put you on blast now. Go on, let's give me some facts. I can see you got some notes. So some of them are highlighted.
Invoice
You
finance
always,
facts or
well,
recruitment
just
facts?
general facts. So you have a very interesting kind of way of presenting information that other people might read and just not think anything of it,
I
but
love
you kind of
stats.
relay it straight back to, and what that means to us is this, as a business or as an industry.
Okay.
So,
So again, I love stats, but yeah, 5.6 million SMEs in the UK. There's only around 45,000 businesses using what we specialise in, invoice finance, which is obviously less than 1%.
wow.
There's more businesses out there using credit cards than invoice finance facilities, and obviously cost of a credit card compared to a typical traditional invoice
Why
finance
do you think that
line
is?
education.
Mm.
Invoice finance is very hard to get your head around. There's a lot of lenders that make it very hard to get your head around. Sometimes lenders do that on purpose. There's a lot of hidden fees. Contracts can be a little bit onerous. There are lenders doing it the right way.
Do you not
making it
think
very
it's the
transparent,
responsibility of the banks though, or the bank? Well, maybe yeah, but yeah, you were
Fully
opening a whole
regulated.
kind of worms
Yeah.
here, right? In that you used to have a business relationship manager,
Mm.
and that business relationship manager would be like, somebody you go and meet with once a quarter and have a chat with, and if they spotted an opportunity, they'd present it. But
Yeah,
they
but
don't exist much anymore either.
even the banks don't work on the same terminology. So
No.
what one bank could call the discount rate, the other bank could call a finance charge, and
Right.
for business owners, it is very hard to get your head around. Which again, using not just ourselves but any broker that understands the fee structure of an invoice finance facility, and opening their clients' eyes to the hidden fees associated, they're all avoidable. But it's just
Whereas a
making sure you
credit
use it the
card
right way.
facility is so
It's easy to
familiar.
understand.
It's
Yeah,
familiar,
yeah.
right? We use it on our personal lives, and therefore in the business
Yeah.
world we use it as well, right? Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, less than 1% of businesses using invoice finance. It's just, yeah, it makes the industry sound awful deep down. But hopefully at some point it will become regulated. All the lenders have to use the same terminology. Some lenders will get caught out with certain hidden fees that are criminal.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we're kind of avoiding those lenders anyway. But again, I think fair practice.
Well, because you're putting your name to these things, right? And the last thing you need is somebody to
Yeah.
bad news travels fast. And the last thing you need is that, right? Okay,
Especially
fair.
for a new start agency. So like, again, another interesting fact that I think I only come across a couple of weeks ago, 16% of recruitment agencies that exist today were trading before 2008. So people say
Hold
recruitment's
on. Say 16% of
16%
agencies that are
currently trading
Trading.
today were active
in
before
2008. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a
Well,
lot-
that could mean two things, though, right? That could mean that the average shelf life of an agency isn't very long, or
recruitment has gone from, which we all know has gone from that to that. And it's a very, I'm not going to say it's a young man's game, but there's a lot of young people getting into the recruitment space.
yeah.
The ones that have been there and done it have done incredibly well, potentially sold out. But yeah, anybody that is in a certain
Wow,
age
that's interesting.
frame into recruitment generally has done well, but obviously it was less saturated then. But yeah, that was a quirky stat that
I like that.
from a recruitment specific invoice finance lender that gave it me. But yeah, it was a nice one.
That's interesting. I like that. The next stat you've got there, which I think this particularly bugs me, is a third of those are located in London. Like, how are we're in a remote working world, hybrid and all that sort of stuff. I don't understand why people still feel the need to have a registered London.
But you've got to also consider a lot of these formation agents that set businesses up on company's house.
Oh, I
are
see.
often
Yes.
using a London postcode.
Yeah.
and a London
Okay.
address.
So that's actually quite skewed then. In
It's not an
reality.
accurate stat.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, because you could have an agency based up north that's still using a mailing address down south. So you can only go what you can get from the public domain. But
No.
in the public domain, it looks like a third of the agencies actually based out of London.
Yeah. Bizarre.
Right.
Go on, hit us with another one. I like these facts.
Invoice finance, recruitment. Let's go with, we've already said the average debtor days.
Yeah.
As of last year, it was 52. As of this year, it's 56.
Yeah.
So people are taking longer to pay, which
I think a lot of the agencies I'm speaking to are feeling that. Like, it's the bigger the businesses as well. It almost feels like they're just very
dictating the
very good at not paying, right? And then as a medium sized or small business, you're sat there thinking, well, they're our biggest client. I can't walk away from this.
Yeah.
I've almost got to pardon the French here, but eat shit and like the taste of it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that was great, thank you. Can I have that again, please? Give me another 50 grand worth of fees, but don't pay me for 6 months.
Again, in terms of our facilities, we'll always generally get any business, not just a recruitment business, but we'll set them up on what's called a recalls period, 90 days end of the month, which basically means that's the length of time that we'll get an invoice finance lender to fund their invoices for.
Right.
So it gives them the option to potentially offer 60-day payment terms or potentially 60 days end of month payment terms. You don't advise that.
Yeah, but take the risk yourself, kind of thing.
But if you're gonna, if you've got the opportunity to win a big contract, there's an agency down the road offering them 60-day terms, but you can only afford 30-day terms. Having that invoice finance facility set up correctly is going to allow you more of a chance to win that work.
This is that kind of being able to, because again, a common misconception I get from recruitment consultants and agencies that I speak to, business owners, is that the reason they don't invoice finance is because then they have to put everything through that provider.
Myth.
And that's, again, not true.
Yeah, it's myth. With some lenders, it's whole turnover. However, if you've got a couple of clients that are paying you on 7 or even 14 days, and you can afford to pay all that in-house, keep it all under one roof, there's lenders for it.
Do it. Yeah.
There's lenders for it. There's another facility called selective invoice finance where you can pick and choose invoices, pick and choose debtors, but a lot of the whole turnover invoice finance lenders can just strip out some certain debtors that you want to keep in-house. But the problem you might have then is that when you're invoicing a client, you've got one set of bank details for those clients, another set of bank details for those clients. So sometimes it's a bit tidier having the notice of assignment at the bottom of your invoice, having one set of bank details, but it's just an admin thing.
Yeah, no, fair. Have you seen an increase in new agencies being set up?
Yes, especially off the back of COVID. Yeah, so I think during COVID, a lot of people have gone from working in an office to working from home, getting used to it. Successful recruitment consultants can still see that they can do it themselves without their peers behind them. And I think as a result of them doing it for themselves, still doing a good job of it, a lot of them have thought, I'm sick of making money for somebody else, and they've started their own.
Doing some. Yeah.
We've seen a lot of that.
I've had a lot of inquiries this year actually, and towards the back of last year, for sort of startup support and guidance, and people who have got no recruitment industry experience but actually have got industry experience, right? So they're connected in the driving world. They you know what I mean, and they're like, I've seen these invoices, I'm going to get involved in this world. Or they're connected in the healthcare world, senior nurses and that kind of thing, and gone, I could do this. Are you getting many of those?
Yes. So we've got one at the minute that we're going to be doing with the lender that you know very well. We've got a recruitment guy. We've got a guy that's done a lot for charity, and then we've got a lady that has, I'm not going to say where she sat on the board, but she's had a very senior position within, I can't really say.
Yeah.
A very senior position at board level, and she's got the contacts. He's got the recruitment experience. The charity guy, believe it or not, has got the drive. He's probably the seller. He's the guy that
yeah.
And between the three of them, it's a great fit. An absolutely great.
I love that sort of stuff, because I think I've said for years our industry needs a change. It needs an influx of new blood. And actually, if you can get more people who are historically end customers or end users involved in the supply chain, really it should level everything up, right? Because people know what as a hiring manager, you know what the frustrations are with agencies. As a candidate, you know what the frustrations are with an agency. If you've been a recruiter for 15 years, you're so far removed from the last time you ever looked for a job as a candidate or you hired as a client that it's kind of, you know what I mean, you're sort of solving today's problems with knowledge from 15 years ago. So I encourage more of that in terms of people, and it's if done well, it's a good industry to be in.
We obviously, you've lived and breathed recruitment, and I know you're supposed to be asking me the question. Sorry, but what would you say, given how fast-paced, high-growth the sector is? What would you say is the most important service provider / supplier to get correct as a recruitment agency?
Oh, that's a really good question. and I'm not just saying this because we're sat on a finance podcast, right? But yeah, it's the back office, the invoice financing.
Would you say so?
Yeah, so I ran a recruitment agency for 7 years. I handed over the keys of the finance and back end element of our business to my former business partner, and things went. We started off as in an incubator model. We then went to one of the more popular invoice financing providers. We then left them and ended up with a facility with a really well-known provider who are making waves and a really good service provider, but we chose the wrong. We went about it the wrong way, right? In that we felt that we could, and I keep saying we. He felt that we could credit control it ourselves, so we went with somewhat of a truck facility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many people know what that is?
I know it because of your guys' blogs, but yeah.
Okay. Good.
But yeah, so we went. Look, I'll say because of what I do, it's fine. You know, we went from 3R, who were 3R Finance, who were our back office, were charging a sizable sum, but were exactly what we needed at the time. Yeah. When you're two salespeople who don't know how to run a business,
good at selling,
right?
Back office.
That's it.
Yeah.
That incubator model worked perfectly for us until it didn't.
Yeah.
We then moved to Sonovate, and Sonovate were very price led. We had a handful of issues with invoicing on a handful of accounts that needed to be done in a particular way, and so we had that experience of this is a really big business. You are a very small part of their portfolio of customers. You're not that important, and therefore you're not going to get them. They're not going to change their facility or how they invoice.
It's a little bit our way or the highway.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and so it should be. Yeah, again, so it should be. You're dealing with a 500k turnover business with two people in it who are going, no, we need you to invoice this way because the client's getting annoyed. Well, shut up, lads. And that was our prerogative. So that then drove us to move to Zodec. Where we made the biggest mistake was Zodec could and should have done our back office for us from day one, and they didn't. And my business partner had convinced himself that bringing his wife in to do the books and to do the VAT returns and to hold on to to do the invoicing and all the rest of it was the right decision. And that's where we fell apart because
you just saved a bit of money in terms of costing.
Exactly right. Against because we look at it and we're like, hang on a minute, this facility cost us 40 grand last year. We could do it in-house for 25, let's just bring somebody in to do that. And that somebody ended up being...
But the extra workload.
But the mistakes that were made and the issues that created, it eventually was a massive player in the downfall of the business and why we ran out of cash and why things went wrong. Because, Zodec could have, and as I said, should have been doing our back office for us, but they weren't. So yeah, to answer your question in a very long-winded way, I think that you've got to get your invoicing and your finance, your debt facility right. Well, where our business failed was we took out debt that we could not service anymore, because it was cheap lending and cheap money. Yeah. We had the wrong back office set up, completely the wrong back office set up for a business our size. And then we had clients that weren't paying, and then a handful of clients went under. We're owed all this money, and it was a wing and a prayer, and everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, which then resulted in, unfortunately, 7 really talented people being put out of work just before Christmas, and we had to carry that. That was our responsibility as business owners, and I think that's the point. Is that's why it's so important. He went on
that experience for people, for existing recruiters or new start recruiters. You giving that bit of background in terms of the experience you've faced, like you've learned your lesson the hard way.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, recruitment is one. We can. I mean, he like my old business partner just went off and carried on and set up a new recruitment agency and carried on. Right. I went a different route, but the point was that as business owners, you're responsible for not just yourself and your mortgage and feeding your kids and that. You've got teams of people who have got lives, they've got livelihoods, they've got bills to pay, they've got mouths to feed.
They've got nursery fees.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And they look to you as the specialist or as the person in control. Just like when we were little, we looked to our parents and be like, they know everything. Yeah. There's not a thing. Yeah,
God.
Everybody has that moment, and where they kind of at some point in their life they realise that, holy shit, my parents don't know fuck all, or they're just winging it the same way that we are now, right? And we have that kind of awakening, right? But in the same way, our employees and people who work for our businesses look to us to have the right answers. And that's why this stuff like this is so important. Because you make a handful of mistakes and you're done. Your business will be done. Now, you could carry on and start again tomorrow, but what about the people who looked up to you and relied on you to make sure that they were paid on time? Yeah. And what about your contractors that you've got out working, who again rely on you to know your shit and have your shit in order? Because if you don't have your shit in order, they're the ones that are going to be pushed out, right? Yeah. So that went off on a bit of a tangent. Apologies, I think it's important to kind of acknowledge
that's again, outside looking in. If I was a recruitment agency listening to this, that's experience, and that's what RecTalks is about, to not only introduce people and show, a whole market what's going on in terms of recruitment, and everybody to, talk about recruitment in a positive way, but also the good and the bad. But it's the experiences more so that I think a typical recruitment agency wants to hear.
I think so.
They can learn from other people.
I think so, because I wish I had that, right? Because you hear LinkedIn is full to the brim of, I grew and scaled a recruitment agency. I did this and I achieved this and I achieved that.
The good stuff, the social media stuff.
That's it. Yeah, it's like that's all well and good, but I can't learn from that, right?
So Facebook, Instagram. Yeah. I'm not on it, but it's only people that want to publicise.
That's it.
The good in their life. And it's like.
Whereas I think the more value is in the mistakes, right? Of, this is where I fucked up, don't do that again. And hey, you might do it. You might do it anyway. Like, my dad used to tell me all the time all the mistakes that he made in the business world. Yeah. And a lot of those I replicated and did them anyway, right? Despite the fact that he told me this was going to happen, I did it anyway. Yeah. But it's always good to know that other people have been through this.
I've got 3 young boys, and even last night at football training, like, he's crying because I think he let the ball go through his legs or whatever. Some bit harsh, but that's what he did. No big deal. And he's having a bit of a whinge, but again, you learn from your mistakes. If he all of a sudden scored 20 goals, he's learning to be a top goal scorer, blah blah. But is he? I don't know. You can. It's, in all walks of life, I think you learn more from your mistakes than from your.
I always think it's the best advice I got from, and he was a mentor of mine, and he was like, look, even when things go well, you have to look at why it went well. Don't just ride the wave of success and be like, I'm fucking sick of this. Like, everything I do turns to excellence. Yeah. You've got to sit down and you've got to break it down and be like, right, why did this work? Why did this client buy from me? Why did this candidate accept that job? Because the answer's in the why somewhere, right? And how to replicate it. And it's not because you're the most amazing salesperson in the world and you sold them. That is never the answer. The answer is there was something that happened that you have to figure out so that you can replicate it. And a lot of the time it is that, do you know what? Trust. I had a really good relationship with that guy. Right?
The reason why you've got a good relationship is because you trust that guy based on the information he's giving you.
That's it.
He's been honest. You tell somebody, if somebody's trying to sell to you, you can spot it a mile off. And you said earlier, people nowadays do not like to get sold to. They much prefer word of mouth, a recommendation.
That's it. That's all the stats proof. That's all the stats proof.
As long as you know what you're talking about, no matter what industry you're in, your foot's already in the door.
Yeah.
If you've got that knowledge, but
it's funny. I had this exact same conversation was a couple of days back with one of the chaps that I'm mentoring. He was like, "Oh, I managed to get this client signed up, blah blah." And they're a big recruiter in it's JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, right? And so he's like, and again, and he's like, I'm made, mate. My year is done, and now it was like, now I need to sign up Aston and I need to sign up National Grid and Cadent Gas, and I'll be set.
Made.
And I was like, okay, but how? Think about, that's great that you did that, but you got to think about why, or how did you get JLR over the line? And when we pulled it all away, it was like, you've been working on this account and on this relationship for nearly 3 years. You've done no prep or no build up with National Grid. Just saying, we work with JLR is not going to impress National Grid. You've done no. I was like, you're setting yourself up for disappointment, because what you've done is you've gone, I'm good enough to sign up Jaguar Land Rover, and therefore by de facto I'm good enough to sign up all of these people. But what you didn't do was look at it really and go, why? The reason I did this isn't because I was dressed sharp on the day, or I was saying all the slick things that needed to be said, or my competitors cocked up that day. You've been nurturing, you've been nurturing this relationship for 3 years. So start that 3-year process today, because you will sign up National Grid, but in 3 years' time, you might do it a bit sooner. But that's the truth, you know. And it's the same thing, I suppose, with when you look at your business invoice financing or your business finance. You've got to look at it and be like, okay, well, the last time I looked at this was, you know, we were this type of business. This was the economy at the time. This was the situation that we were in. Take a genuinely honest look at your business and go, is it the same? No. So why is your back office setup still the same? You know what I mean? Because it's easy just to, I'll stay with my gas and electric supplier. I can't be asked to change it. I'll stay with my insurance. Can't be asked to change it. It's the same mentality.
With service providers, people will always buy from people. But the typical example I was giving you, where you've got one lady that sits on the board somewhere, you've got one recruiting, you've got one driven charity worker. This lead came to me from a recruitment specific service provider that said, Bobby's a good guy, I trust him, my clients, but he'd also done a lot of local digging, local agencies. And there was one agency that spoke incredibly highly of me that isn't a client. And I've been after the business for donkeys. Like, it was with Barclays, on a good deal with Barclays, another price driven deal. Tempted to mention his name because I wouldn't be surprised if he's on RecTalk. But Jim, thank you for the recommendation if so. But he's not a client of mine. I've never met him. But because he's seen that we're honest in terms of our approach, I've already told him he's on a good gig with Barclays. He's obviously built that trust to then recommend me to somebody starting out now. And obviously Barclays aren't going to be a good fit for a new start. But I think it's a trust piece, and people will always buy from people, but recommendations.
Absolutely, that's key. No, mate, this has been really fun. I think we should wrap it up. We're hitting the 45-minute mark.
Waffled on.
No, this is good. This has been really, really insightful. How do people reach out to you guys? How do you guys take your inquiries? What's the best way?
Okay, so you can reach out to us on the website, online, LinkedIn. We do a lot on. Also on 01902 219 260. To contact business finance, we're responsible for putting businesses in contact with the most suitable lenders. Invoice finance, property finance, loans, any funding needs that you, friends, other business owners face, we can always point you in the right direction.
Amazing. Mate, appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you once again for listening. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we'll see you again next week.
Contact Business Finance are a commercial finance brokerage based out of the heart of the West Midlands. We're responsible for putting businesses in contact with the most suitable lenders, whether it be invoice finance, property finance, and also loans. We offer a range of services, but my bread and butter is invoice finance, whether that be invoice factoring, invoice discounting, chocks, or specific recruitment finance facilities that also includes the back office. How we add value is simply due to the fact of our experience. So, only a small team, we've got a lot of experience within the team. We know all the lenders out there in the market, we have access to all the deals out there in the market, and we also know some of the key decision makers that can often make the difference between having a standalone facility compared to having a facility that needs that added flexibility in terms of a commercial approach. So, with invoice finance facilities, they're not always price driven. We're not just a typical broker that goes out there and finds you the best rates. We can do that, but where we add more value is that we listen to a recruitment owner's needs. We also understand their pains, and whether it be a credit limit, credit insured limit, better service, more flexibility, or price. We generally find a solution and put them in contact with the most suitable lender. We also offer all things property finance related. So if you are a recruitment business owner that wants to purchase the current premises that you're trading from, we can get you a commercial mortgage. We also offer unsecured business loans. So in terms of business loans, you might want to kit the office that you're currently trading out of with new computer equipment. We can provide you that working capital and that compare the market service to go out to every single lender.
So we help new start agencies on their journey by taking away the headache of all of the back office and the funding that they don't necessarily want to focus on. Starting a new start business, all you need to focus on is what you do best, which is selling. So if you come to us, we compare the market for you free of cost to look at all things back office, funding solutions and anything else for your needs.
To give you some reasons why you should use us. We are free of cost service, we have full access to banks and lenders, we can help you save time and money, as well as having access to key decision makers and most importantly industry experience.
You can get in touch with us at contactbusinessfinance.co.uk.
Or give us a call on 01902 219 260.
Or drop us an email on info@contactbusinessfinance.co.uk.